Well, hello.
Hello, evening, everybody.
How are you all?
Evening.
Hello, good evening.
We'll do it, introduce ourselves like we always do, because then people know who we are. I'm Martin Alley from Lincoln Spirit Seekers. I'm the founder. I created it in 2015, and the Power Family is ever growing. Garry Fields is somebody that's been part of the Power Family since day one, I'd say. And we've got Wendy and we've got Bob. So what we're going to do, we're going to introduce ourselves like one by one and go for it.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm a psychic medium. I love working in the paranormal investigations, but I also love the fact that it's para-unity that we have here. And for anybody that doesn't know, it does work. And I'll let the others introduce themselves.
I'm Bob Sharp. I'm the baby of the family, I think, at the moment. It's been an interesting couple of weeks since I've gotten involved with everything and stuff, and it's really nice to meet like-minded people, you know, even because we all come from different backgrounds, different areas, different places around the planet, everything, and it's nice to get together, and it's nice to feel that we've got that family and that unity, because as I think it's getting difficult for people to talk about stuff, and so it's nice to know that you can talk really openly about some of the most difficult things that people want to talk about. And you know, here we've got it. It's been lovely, and I keep forgetting to say thank you to you all, and thank you for letting me join the family. It's lovely. Thank you.
Right, no problem. Yeah, I'm Garry, just spiritualist medium. I've been receiving communication from spirits since I was 5 years old. A lot of things didn't make sense to start with, very unsure of what was going on. Then became a Reiki master about 13 years ago. And the rest is just blown my mind away since then, because everything's tied in. Do a lot of paranormal investigations up and down the UK, a lot of house clearances, spiritualist churches when I'm asked along, and I also do a lot of charity events, raise a lot of money for charity, different causes, and I like to give back, and it's just lovely helping spirits, especially house clearances and that. People get in contact all the time, and I just enjoy doing what I'm doing.
That's good, man. That's good. That's well, yeah. I've seen that you've been going on some investigations, and you've been doing really, really well out there. So in the Power Unity, working with other teams. Is there any like stories that you could be telling us that we haven't that we haven't covered? Because like last time we talked, it's still on YouTube. I went over it the other day, and I was like, and you was coaching me through my actual doing my live streams and getting there and how to communicate across. And so, like, what have you been up to since then?
Well, basically, I think the other week I had the lovely Jolene Jackson Lockwood and she invited us down to HMS Warrior in Portsmouth, and we all went down there as again with a lot of para unity. We met up with like-minded folks in different teams, and we all investigated an amazing 1860s ship of the day of a warship, basically back in the day, virtually the first metal ship that floated.
Yeah.
And it just blew our minds. I left the recorder going, and all you can hear is chains going, and the gunpowder, people that would be little lads that would be running from back into with gunpowder and stuff like that. Nothing physically said, but you can understand the atmosphere of the ship and the boat as well at the same time. And somebody said, "Is it the boat like lapping up the water, lapping up on the deck of the boat in the harbour?" But it was a still night. It was the moon was shining. So again, to me, I debunked that as what was going on within there, and I'd had information about 6 hours prior to getting there. So I wrote all the information down, 2.5 pages.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything to anyone. I showed the lead gentleman that was there, Russ, Wednesday Paranormal, and I showed them information that we'd received spiritually before we got there. And when we went off in our own teams for an hour in each section, 45 minutes in each section, one of the ladies in the group actually gave the full name of what her dad wrote down, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And she's like, I don't know how I've done that. I don't know how I've done that. So when I turned the pad round and showed her the name of the person that we'd wrote down 6 hours prior that was waiting there for us in communication, and to get to the bottom of his story was just mind-blowing. It just, the intelligence of spirits just never ceases to amaze me.
Pretty cool the way that it's confirmed, like what you wrote down before you went, to like actually get it confirmed when you're there. It's like, wow, that is absolutely mind-blowing. It's like when me and Wendy, we got on investigation, we went with Bob, and there's no way we knew anything. I told him I don't want to know.
Friday night.
Get the confirmation. It's like
Gary's comment there, the story there just reminds me, Friday night, my voice thing kept going off, and obviously it's as it is. I mean, it's not to a degree, it's unproven. But having said that, when they say that, when you get it saying Jerry, and it says Jerry about 12 times within about 10 minutes, that's way more than it would be natural. And of course, you guys are kind of going, I don't get it. Why would he keep with the Jerry? And I'm stood there with a smirk on my face thinking, because I know why he's saying Jerry, because it suddenly come to me. And obviously, because it's got something to do with Germans, because it had something to do with the war. Yeah. So, and it was, when you get something like that, and it's, you know, for me, I'm not, skeptical's the wrong word. I don't like that word. It's just, I want to know more, and from my side of it, do you know what I mean? And I know when you get past a bit that you think, no, there's more to that than meets the eye. So get exactly what Garry means there. Oh, and hi to everybody in the chat. I see it all going past.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Give me 5 minutes. I just want to say hi to everybody. I want to say hi to L.S.S Paranormal. They're absolutely brilliant. They're out over in the States. We've got a YouTube channel, and what would like to get people to subscribe onto there, support, you know, encouragement. You know, we know what Power Unity is about. We've got Irene from L.S.S Japan. It's 4:30 in the morning over there, but she's like tuned in to like.
Oh wow! Oh, Irene, God.
4:30 in the morning. We've also got Emma from L.S.S Scotland. That's also come on. She's a great support. She's a strong believer in Power Unity, and I absolutely love her for who she is.
I'm on there on Tuesday.
You are. You're on the chat on a live on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So
I'm where you are, Garry, on Tuesday.
Right. Hey, no problem. Hey, no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. So you've been doing these investigations as well. Have you been on any more live chats with anybody and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I've actually, obviously, I've had my own personal stuff to do since last year and that. So I've just finished a lot of stuff off personally myself, and been doing a lot of stuff out in the garden. And I've just been just catching up with myself, you know, since we had that C19 thing. So basically, I've just been having a little bit of me time over the summer. Had a nice hernia operation, so we had that sorted. So I've been resting and recuperating for, you know, a couple of weeks, and nice thing about that, give myself some Reiki, and within 4 days I was like spring chicken again. So obviously you can prepare a surgery area prior to any operations as well, which people don't understand sometimes, and you can self put healing in prior, get prepared it and stuff like that as well. So there's little things that we learn along the way as well. So again, sometimes it comes to your advantage. Yeah, you know, I couldn't go and do a marathon, or I couldn't go and do a run, but I was certainly back on my feet after 3 or 4 days, which was very much, I didn't want to be slowed down, and I do struggle when I'm slowed down. So again, from there, that period, I've been building back up and then catching up with people, and met the raft chasers in Leeds Corn from Leeds Corn Exchange from America. So I've done an investigation with them again, and that was a fantastic night and great experience. So looking forward to having another get together of, what's the word I was after, just getting all together, para unity, with getting everybody together from America, and looking forward to doing that in September 2023. So we're going to have a big convention there again with Keep Paranormal and stuff like that. So again, it's just getting invited here, there and everywhere, and just keeping the paranormal world ticking over with what we do, and sharing my knowledge and experience, like yourself, when I first helped you channel in trance and you like just didn't know what was going on, but now you've got to you understand it, and then get into the ways of working with it now. So again, it's just giving you that little foot over the step, and then stepping back, and then you working with the energy, getting used to what's going on, and then that enhances yourself, and then you build with different levels, and confidence matters around yourself, and then you go off in your own little areas and you do different things. No medium really works in the same way. They all got their own little traits, and they've all got their own little ways that they fit in their comfort zone as well. But I'm a big believer. I like to push people past their own comfort zones and show them that little bit of extra in-depth that I've learned around amazing people, international mediums, amazing Reiki masters. They've all blown my mind. So I try and share that back to people of what I receive as a medium, and give my experience on the night or in a venue. I try and bring and link in together the energy I'm getting, and pass that on to people around me, be it public or team members as well.
That's good. That's good. When have you got anything to ask?
So did you, because obviously I felt it all come together, like yourself, when you did your Reiki master. And I do believe that helps so much, because I like to put the protection of Reiki around as well before I go out anywhere. And I just think it is such an invaluable tool to have.
I find as well, Wendy, is even when you're doing a reading before someone, you're actually giving them a reading of the present and the future, and you're naturally sending healing of what's going on prior to them. So if they shuffle in the cards, they cut through the aura.
Yeah.
The cards pick up on what's going on in and around them. So my cards actually are 37 years old. They actually read what's going on around the person, then they get the cards, get drawn to them, and they get drawn to the cards as well. So I always try and do it within about a 12-month period, where I try not to give too much ahead, because even for the medium, when we see things 5 years, 10 years ahead, 18 years ahead, you've got to slow down. And it's not always the specific thing that you're expecting of what you're being shown. They'll give you certain things that you're expecting. I was told stuff in 1982, which came around in the turn of the millennium, but all I was received was, watch out for the turn of the millennium in 1982. So as a medium or a person, you over panic thinking, oh, is that it? Is that it? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And it was just a bad period that I had to have a step over in time, that I had to go through a rough time and then move forward. So the timing of what they were warning was not what I was expecting, because we always expect the worst, don't we? Because you go up. And then the natural thing to run with it spiritually is just, you know what, you've got to go through it to experience it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because if we as psychic mediums don't go through something, how can we then help others to go through the same thing, or near enough the same thing? It's definitely helps you make a connection.
It's like what you're saying as well. It's like, you know, as a psychic mediums, not being able to, if we didn't go through what we go through, we wouldn't be able to help others. But also on top of that, it's like we're there as, like, you know, L.S.S members, that we're there for people as well. And, you know, as we can see, there's people around the world that belong to L.S.S and are there now to be able to do that. So, for example, if there are psychics out there that have any issues, they've got people to be able to turn to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
and there was another little story as well in my timeline of things tying in. I actually had a quite severe bang on the back of the head and the spine and the spinal cord. I had a spinal cord bleed, which is called a brown squidard, and it's like 5 million to 1 chance of having that. But a lot of that sensitivity heightened everything even again, more advanced. And that was only like, you know, I was lucky that I had the bump cap on at the time. Otherwise, there'd have been a lot more severe damage at the time. Yeah. It was only just a general little accident of banging my head. But at the end of the day, that just highlighted everything again.
Yeah.
Could you explain more like how it's enhanced your abilities? who you are today.
Yeah, and again, I've developed, even with the transfiguration, I try and show spirits on the night, because I'm a big believer in seeing is believing. So if people send me photographs, I try not to comment with pictures I'm sent, because I like to be there to get the feel of the room, the atmosphere changing, who's in and around. So if you're drawn to somebody over there on the left, is somebody else in the room picking up on something behind you? So when they take photographs, I always like to be in and around the evidence. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think it's fair for me to comment, because again, I like to be there as the evidence, you know what I mean? And again, it's just trying to help people, but sometimes it's like, come along with us, come and experience the room changing, come along and experience.
Yeah, different
what I'm
feeling.
trying to show you.
I remember when you first made me do my trans mediumship, and just going back to what we started talking about, and how you've helped me develop, like Wendy has as well. Like, you're like helping me on my progress of becoming who I am, which I love you both for doing that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I remember, like, I was in a room, and there was like a load of people there. The Paracon was going really, really well. And Garry decides, so it was Gary's turn to do a bit of talk, to explain himself and everything, say who he is and everything. And then he goes, right, can we have any volunteers? So I'm sat there with my hands crossed. I'm thinking, you know what? Go on. I'm the big I am. Go on. Let's see what you can do, mate. I think I still owe him money.
I don't want to ask. I really don't want to ask.
Yeah. I got everyone to say when he come around and about stepping away from the energy in trance mediumship, that he said he owed me 50 quid. So
Oh, well, there you go. And inflation. Yeah, don't forget inflation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smash you, because you were saying at the beginning, when you was going through all the bits, when you're on about the house, when you talked about house clearing and stuff. I've been reading various different things, and do you think, what's your feelings on people saying or talking about it's sort of people needing such things on an increase? Is it, as some people were saying, it's not so much an increase, but because of the advent of TV and it's always, this stuff's in the media, films and everything else, that people have become more aware and maybe sort of think that things are going on? Actually, what's your feelings on it? Do you just think it's on the up, or do you think it's people taking notice more? People more aware?
I definitely think, Bob, in the period where we was all asked to stay at home, that people were more sensitivity to what was going on, because they had a shortage of work. The mind was more not as occupied. So when people are in the zone, that they will sense and receive more. So when it's not as congested up here, and I always ask people to defrag basically and empty their mind off before they work spiritually as well. You can do that, and I always say it's balancing and cleansing. I don't preach what I do, but it works so amazingly when people have got a clear mind. And I just always ask them, if we're doing a development class, it's like, start at 7:00, visualize just emptying your mind off of everything that's gone on in the day. When it gets past about here, physically feel it emptying. Then you get the clear mind, because you're virtually forgetting what's gone on in the day. Then you're open to receive. When you're open to receive, you get more information. And I believe my take on it is that the spirits will give you more the more you can handle. So seeing things that you're not expecting, your spiritual team will say, okay, we'll give you more insight into what the in-depth is about X, Y, and Z. As long as you can take it on board, they will give you more information. And I think that's with the respect of the people I've had
really cool. But
training and developing me along the path.
If you remember when I first came and I started getting reading, starting getting being able to communicate with spirits, I started having difficulty to be able to close down and to stop the spirits communicating, because it was like, once I was open, it was like a floodgate, and it was like, oh my God, I can't sleep. And there was times when I was ringing you up, I'm like, Gaz, I woke up again between 2 and 4, and it's all the time, and it was proper getting on my tits. Remember? Now, sorry, it was proper affecting me, and it was like, Gaz, what do I do? I think he got bored of me. Sometimes I was ringing him. At the time, I didn't know you at the time, Wendy.
Sorry, I'm just laughing.
I didn't also communicate with Gaz, but Gaz used to help me from a lot of stage from the beginning. And I've got now, so I ever read anything, I've got Wendy that I can just go and see and stuff like that.
I must admit, with trance, I just can't let go. Just that there's that last little bit that says, no, I want to be in control of my body.
But the thing is, as well, there, Wendy, is what a lot of people don't understand in and around. It's not like the spirit's fully taken over you. Your guiding team will let it come 50%, 60%, 20%.
Yeah.
When you start receiving off that spirit in and around, you can let it so close into your aura, into your energy, and you can hold it back. I would say to a lot of people, just put your hand at the back of the palm of your hand at the back of your spine, and then it's not fully stepping in as well. So you've got that little bit of a barrier as well, and then you're putting that comfort zone in with understanding that, right, you're not going to fully step in. I have had situations where amazing mediums have said to me, oh, do you know what? Let's see what spirits bring tonight. I'm up for that. And I'm the first thing I get is the alarm bells. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And they're giving me an experience of it like it took a good half an hour to rebalance. That it was a big, I'd say, wallop. It was a big spirit stepping in that somebody wasn't expecting at the time on the investigation. But I'm like, go along with it. Let them experience it because they've asked for it. Let them experience it. And they're like, oh, I'm glad I've done it, but I don't want to do it again. And then some people are like, oh, I love this, and just run with it. And then they get a stronger connection.
By doing transmediums, you have said to that can be dangerous before. I've only done it twice now, and I'm learning. But it's like the other night when I went out on Friday night, it happened. I did it and everything, and then it's like I could feel the presence of Wendy and Wendy pulling me like come towards me, but my body and my whole self was going back.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, I want to be going forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
don't worry, you weren't getting away.
There was a lot going on there, like you said, like we just sort of talked about, and obviously not, well, as far as I'm aware, not being psychic or any sort of stuff, but even it was so weird, but everything, it was weird. I don't know if it was Wendy, I'm not blaming you, Wendy, but it was
Thanks, Barry.
the Friday when you weren't there, the Friday before, it just felt like everything was in the periphery, because when you were talking, the two of you, and that just gave me a few moments to just survey the area and muck about with some of my gadgets, have a little bit of and I kept looking around and I'm thinking, it honestly does feel, trying to open up, just trying to trust my feelings more, to like, it's almost like there's a bunch of people just stood there, but they're staying there because they don't want to come and interfere. And it's not overwhelming, but it was definitely something. So I was going to say, oh, go on, Wendy.
Sorry, there was a bit in the investigation where it had been raining and it was dark.
Yeah.
But then it got darker.
Oh, yeah.
The dark.
We had that one the week before, and it definitely did. And obviously being, I don't know.
Oh.
Bobby,
yeah, 100%.
You didn't get a word about Bob because you froze.
Yeah, I noticed it's cutting out when you was talking, Martin. You went into sort of robotic dancing, man. No, I was going to say, it just definitely 100%. It was darker. I'm not daft. The lights and everything. The power had gone out the lights, yet the lights were still at the same battery power and everything. Yeah, I was waiting for the whole drain thing, but there was nothing. There was nothing. And they stayed, so they weren't dying of losing the power. The area around us was darker. Well, absolutely.
What I love on investigations, and I would recommend everyone just take an A4 pad as well to make notes. You might get something receiving it, or somebody might say something. If you make a note of it, and then you check an EVP that you've had running as well, and then sometimes you might not hear what's being spoken spiritually, and then it'll turn up on the EVP as well. So that's great validation, and that's what it's all about. Saturday night I was in Peterborough Museum and went off, myself and Lindsay, my friend, we went off to down into the basement, and she started automatic writing, and one of the things that she wrote down was the spirit energy that I was getting there of the gentleman that virtually built the building dating back from the 1500s, and his house was over the road, was, I haven't finished with you yet. I can't do anything physically to me, but he wanted to make himself known by the end of the night, and he come through and channeled through one of the members of the public, and virtually what Lindsay had wrote down on the pad and all that was, I haven't finished with you yet, but I'll let you know by the end of the night what I've got for you. And he actually came through, a member of the public, and virtually wasn't happy with me, but it was because the strength of the light. Sometimes the light can be too strong, and I will sometimes turn my light down when I go on an investigation as well, because you don't want spirits just running away from you. You want them to come towards you and communicate and give you the story of what they were about in this time. And again, it's the understanding of that, but sometimes we automatically put our protection up as well and put protection around everyone we're working with. So sometimes you've just got to ease off and let the night run as well.
Rachel, let's go back to actual investigating in the woods. I remember me and you and John Woods from Legacy Paranormal, and that we all went on this investigation. Did our first Paracon, and my God, that was some freaky stuff. It was like, because I was just coming back into paranormal, but I went into the paranormal as what I am now. So when we went paranormal with Gaza, you don't mind me calling you guys? Well, calling that on live or?
That's all right. Go with the flow. I've been called worse, especially by spirits.
So went on this investigation with Gaza, and I had my Emma with me and everything, and we was in this in the woods. Emma's like clinging on to me, like, what's going on? And then like I could hear like singing, you remember? And it was like singing in the woods and that. And next thing is that Garry doesn't know anything about these woods at all, and literally he did his transformation, and he could literally see the old lady coming out on him, and it was like I remember it now. And
on the cottage, I pointed to where the cottage was as well.
Yeah, you did, and it was just crazy. It was like, wow. And it's
like you and your wet feet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that really did mean something, but obviously couldn't give it away at the time. I'm going to say, I was reading the side bits and that what Rachel just said about the thingy was quite a good question. Have you ever investigated a spiritual church, or have any of them?
We have, yeah. Wendy have. We've been to like Skidbrook Church and that.
Yeah,
I don't really know the history of it. I just know bits and bobs, but not properly because I don't like to know, and Wendy definitely didn't know. And it's just like weird, like what we pick up and what we've done. I'm not going to tell you because maybe when we go again, we might pick up something different and you'll be able to confirm it, sort of thing.
I've done a centre before, like a spiritual centre that was in the grounds of an old asylum. And it was quite weird energy.
It was a good question that Rachel popped up, actually, because I've got a friend who lives in what was a converted chapel, and I'm hoping they're going to let us go. A little bit of persuading, but we might. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because obviously it was a chapel. Go on, Gary's down to say something. Go on.
Well, I actually, when I was with the Past Hunters, when I'd done the pre-Sky pilots mini-series, 6 programs for Sky with the Past Hunters, I was doing the telly there, and we actually done Portland Street in Southport. Now, not a lot of people have filmed in Southport, regardless of a paranormal investigation, and we actually filmed in the Spiritualist Church there, and we had some amazing evidence coming along. And you know, we had these like little old chap coming in at the back of the room, not saying anything, just watching us, observing what's going on, and quite inquisitive spirits as well. So they're like, oh, this is different. We're having a little look. We're coming along. What are you up to now? And then they're watching you in a different perspective, other than like a service going on, or a medium talking or working. And when he was doing this filming, you could just hear so many noises in different rooms going on. And it was a very, very active night, that one. That was a very good program that I enjoyed doing as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Rachel was also asked, would you think they are more active rather than an old building? I'm interested to know what you guys think. Would one of you like to answer that?
What the way I always like to work, as again, I go in blind. So if I go in a building and it was built in the 1600s, if we're there for 6 hours, I'll always ask Spirit, can the older generation come through first? And then each segment of the investigation, the next second part might be a totally different era. So you might get 1700s, then you might get 1900s, then you might get 1930s, 1980s. So you get different times, chapters, centuries, decades, and years as well. So not too far off. We're always usually like a year or two either side of what's going on, which is always good validation as well. So I've been on investigations where mediums have said I'm picking up on 1895, and then I'll turn around, I've got 1890 on the pad. 5 years around Spirit is no, it's no big time difference on that as well. You know what I mean? So again, when you're getting validation around 2, 3, 4 or 5 years, that's very, very close in the spirit world.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like I've been through like 3 different like investigations, and it's like the best way that I can say it is like you said, layers. And it's like trying to get from one layer to another layer and trying to get the older layer to come through first before the younger layers. It's like kids want to be heard, so they'll interrupt when you want to talk to the adults. You know what I mean? And it's like the different generations. You know what I mean? It's the best. It's the best way that I can. It's the best way I can state it. Because
you just reminded me of the thing with my mum and dad. Sorry. Sorry. Oh God, no, sorry.
Right, go on, guys. Bobby,
Well, come on, Wendy. What about you? You tell us what you think. That question, Rachel's question. What do you think? Go on.
I tend to sometimes when I go in, I go right back to the very start of the building.
Yeah.
And I am seeing the building as it was then in that period. And then it goes, and I suppose if there's a really strong spirit, I'll then try and go to that first so I can get past that one and then on to find out more about what's going on in the building. But the place where I did an investigation, it was on the grounds of an old psychiatric unit. And there's all these different people coming in from different times, and they're all just like flying in at you. So I was doing a service and I had to say, wait a minute, I will get to you. And then we went off and did the investigation.
Also as well with that, Wendy, as well, as I've learned over the years, when I try and explain to somebody that's learning on their path, I'll say, come in one at a time, wait in the doorway. Anybody that's boisterous, you can go to the back. Anybody that's a quiet, older energy or a weaker energy, can you make yourself to the front? So if you've got like a frail person or someone like that that's trying to bombard you all at once, you've got to pick out the different levels as well and go, hang on, there's actually, I need to link and connect with a quieter spirit there, or a young child or something like that.
Yeah.
For 6, 8 or 10 months, we've had a child crying, and we got drawn to a churchyard one night, and we actually found out that the child was, that the mother had given birth, obviously, but just boxed the child up and left it on the front doorstep of the church to be looked after because she couldn't afford to look after the child. And that's all it was. So that child spiritually was just letting us know it lived, it didn't pass. It was just a constant crying of what was all that about. So we got to the bottom of it, that this child was just abandoned from a young age. So realistically, it didn't know its path from its generation of the family tree. So it wasn't that it died. It was just letting us know that child didn't know its family tree.
I
Yeah.
think I said to, I can't remember if it's Wendy or just Martin before, about how just over the years I've got the feeling that a lot of people going about haunted places, you see an old building, they go, oh wow, that's got to be haunted and all that, and I'm not so sure. I think I said to you, definitely said it, 1,000 people can walk down a corridor and they won't get it, but then people will just be in tune or something, and then they'll pick something up, and it'll be only the briefest of things, and they may never experience it again. But then you've got the people who have got the power or the ability to pick all this sort of stuff up, and I think that's just what happens. And sometimes it's just a fleeting thing, and it's not even. So I was about to say to you, Gary, when you say about like the weaker spirits, I do know that some people, I've forgotten what they call them now, sorry, some people use gadgets to try and energize the area. Have you ever done anything like that to try and help?
The EMF pumps and that to heighten.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, basically, me and technology, that's about my technology level, which is just a normal phone that's been converted into night vision camera.
Yeah.
Again, I just try and do a live going round, and technology and me don't go.
So it's natural, yeah.
A very good friend of mine, I think she was on Good Morning this morning, and she was talking about the paranormal world. She said, oh, can I pop by and lend some equipment? I'm just coming past yours anyway. And I said, really, I need to replace all mine because it gets knocked, it gets banged, it gets bumped. So all the sensitivity stuff, regardless of putting it in a carrier case, all your EMFs and all that, they get banged, knocked and bumped. So they do need replenishing and replacing. And to be honest, it's very, very expensive. It's not a cheap industry to be in and around. And I always find the simplistic things are better. A little toy object getting moved or knocked off somewhere, trigger object, brilliant. I'm more old school. I like the older stuff, but I think the people that's watching on the other side of the camera like to see all the lights and noises going off. So you try and get the balance. And again, it's all about the balance with things. I like to show the room as it is. I've got amazing people behind me that don't say anything. They'll watch what's going on the live. They'll keep an eye out for things as well. And we've got so many ideas to bring to the table, but it's not for me to put out there because there's a time and a place. So when you go up another level, that's the time and place. I mean, obviously financially, I'm not bothered about doing stuff on the TV, but if there's ever a time and place there, it's like, right, we'll run with this, we'll go with that. I've got 1,001 ideas, but it's not worth me putting it out there because everybody else will be doing it. And I think I must have been one of the first just to use a simple trigger object as a cat ball 8-10 years ago. It was just something to flash and light. How do they work? They're just sensitivity to the atmosphere. So again, is it spirit? People say to me, I'm like, well, you put your own thinking of it in the room, and if you're getting it going off in command, then that's a good sign. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you've got to put your own, be open to receive, and again, it's all about being open to receive is the most valuable thing on a night, because if you get 10 people with you on an investigation and they're all open-minded, then a lot of things come around and about more. The energy's stronger, and your teams get drawn to people of, we'll work with them, we'll work with these, go with that and run with that. So your team are pointing things out, and if you've got 10 people in a room, my guide will go, oh, have a little work with her, she'll be great, she'll interact and she'll pick up stuff, and she's quite sensitive, regardless of asking her a question. If I'm in a hub and we're on an investigation and we're with public, the first thing I'll say is, anybody receptive? Does people receive? Because I know my team will want to enhance them and help them and nurture them on in the right direction, because I'm a helper, I'm a healer. It's not about me. I'm just trying to share what the experience is of the day. If it's a quiet night, it's a quiet night. I'll go 400 miles. If it's quiet, it's quiet. If it's busy, it's busy.
Yeah. No, Dennis, I can vouch for that. I've known you for many years, and that what you've just said is something that you've always said since day one. That you always are there to help people, and if, like, for example, when we did our investigation at the village farm, there was people there, and you was more than willing to like go and help him. And when you was taking them off in your own little groups, and he was there like giving him like the advice and stuff, like and it just shows that this is what this is what we all should be there for, really, showing the power unity side, showing that we can be there to support and encourage each other.
Hi, Emma.
Yeah, to say hi, Emma. That question that Irene asked
She's
about
on,
how
go on, Gaz.
Go on, say that. Say that again.
Emma's
No, I was
on.
like, oh, go on, sorry. No, I was just seeing what. Oh, it's gone. Irene's question's gone off my screen, but she was asking about how you cope. I talk to Martin a lot because I work with Martin, but both Wendy and Garry, because you're two separate people. Yeah, I'd like to know. And I mean, I talked to Wendy a bit now, and now I've met her properly and everything. But how do you both cope with not just like what Irene had put the questions? It's gone completely, and I can't see it. But how do you cope, especially when it's upsetting, like you said about the kid and everything else, and the same Wendy, because I've heard you mention a few things. How do you cope? Because most people struggle with all of that, you know, in normal life. So how do you both? Go on.
With myself, when your office is open, it's open. When your office is closed, it's closed. You don't do your Monday to Friday. Your office is closed, so that's your recharging, that's your regeneration time and period. And again, I always say to people, it is like the film Ghost. Whoopi Goldberg, I've got a song that'll get on your nerves where the spirit's singing away to her. You've got to close off. And there's a time and a place. When you're ready to work, if I'm on holiday, I'm not working. If I'm going around the church or I'm going around the building on holiday or I'm away somewhere, I'll have a little mooch. Okay, we'll give it half an hour. If any spirits want to cross over, just follow a rainbow. If I'm in Derbyshire, follow a rainbow to my back garden and wait there for me Sunday afternoon. And I won't have to tell them the address. It's just follow me rainbow. I'll visually think of a rainbow going to my back garden, wait there till Sunday afternoon. That's my time and place where I've got more time on my hands. I'll help you settle, balance and cleanse and move over to the light, be whatever light that you need to go over to. I've had spirits that got involved with hellfire clubs and they've come to us spiritually on the knees, begging to go to the light.
Yeah.
And I'll open a doorway, I'll open a gateway and I'll say, right, team, spiritual team on the side, on the realm, they need to go to their light that you think that they need to go to. So from a 0 to a 7, I will trust that team spiritually to say, well, we know you got dragged into doing what wasn't quite right. We can see the good in you because they know the history of that soul and that person when they've lived on the plane. So I'm not the judge, juror and maker of anything. I don't judge anyone, but at the end of the day, when you're working with a delicate area, that to me is still up to people above us that's going to put their hierarchy, you're going to put them where they need to be. So that will put them where it's not too bright lights over there on the other side. So they've got to cope and then adapt. And then they might come back down 6 months later and go, right, I've adjusted. I'm ready to go even further and take me to my friends, family and loved ones. So sometimes you can get spirits, energies and certain animals and creatures that need pegging down till you've worked out what's going on. I had one the other day, which I wrote down the other day, which was a manicore, basically energy that's millions of years old, but it looks cute and nice. But if you cross it, it'll play with you. When it's finished with you, it can do a lot of things. So you can't really look into this creature's eyes. You can't look into this spirit that looks all nice and cute. So different levels, different entities and energies play different things and they mean a different symbol as well. And they can come back over and around as well, not that actual energy that we've put down or tied down or shackled or encaged. It's just to keep the balance. Where you've got to have positive, you've got to have negative. Where you've got to have dark, you've got to have light. That's the nature of the world. Never close a portal down. You can shrink a portal, best way. Negative, somebody's having a bad time, just move the portal outside. You don't have to shrink it. You don't have to close it. You just move it outside so it shrinks. So you learn in different ways to help with the balance. So if you've had an household with a 20-foot, 30-foot portal that's open, it's like a washing machine of energy. So put it outside, it'll shrink, but you move it 10 foot. The positive will move 10 foot.
Yeah.
The way you move the negative 10 foot, it'll just follow. It's not for us to close down. There's things that we're not supposed to do, you know, and that's understanding the professionalism of the right place, the right time. And even in doing Reiki, a master guide, if I've made any mistakes, I'm sorry, I'm only human. So sometimes you can forget little things. So if you've not done a different trait or a trend or done something for a while, 3 years, 5 years, they come back around to help you nudge of adjusting and working and keeping you on your toes. So to me, the spirits keep you on your toes.
What's your opinion of Wendy?
I actually in agreement, Gary. I think in a lot of ways we're quite the same, because I was the same age when I first got the abilities. I was about 5, 6 when we moved into a house, and my mum and dad were in there's no such thing. And I was like, yes, there is. And I got right for telling lies.
But the best thing about that, Wendy, as well, is say you see great grandma and say mum or dad has a vivid memory of them as a youngster, and like you give them a scenario of a situation that went on. I remember her falling off a bike, and she's like 17 and or 25 as a youngster or whatever, and it ties in, and then they go, oh my word, the penny's dropped there. She's given us information, and it's valid information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always say to people, it's like that. Some people say to me, "Oh, I'm ready. I can deal with this. I can sort this out. I can do this. I'm more than comfortable." And the first thing I'll do is slow them right down and go, "Spirits might give you that in a totally different way. You might think of waiting to see somebody that's passed or in an accident, but it could be a family member. It could be. You've got to be careful what you put out there in the universe."
You know, fairness, I feel like that was like sort of like telling off, because I believe that was me when I first came on the scene, and I was like doing the readings and stuff like that, and Dad was usually like telling me like, look, you got to hold back, you need to know the readings before what comes out. You got, without having to mix the message up, because obviously some spirits, like, you know, you try to communicate, but then you've always got that side of your brain when you're just becoming, just when you're just learning, that's like, no, I'm not really here. No, it's not real, you know. So you've got that sort of argument happening within your own head. So
I always look at that as one corridor. So your daily thoughts of my thoughts, I'll put to one side. What comes in, I'll give there and then. But if there's a way that you put it over, so if Uncle Bob had Alzheimer's, you're not going to want to give a reading in front of you to a very good relative in front of you and go, is all over the show. You go, okay, come back to me 5 years prior to you having the ailments and the illnesses. They're more of a state of mind. Spirit will jump back straight away within a millisecond. And then they'll have, oh yeah, I'm more clear, I'm more focused, I understand. I'll put that behind me straight away. And then they'll give you knowledge and the information of when they were fit and healthy. My nan shows herself at 55. She lived till she was 88. But she had everybody on a string and the whole family all running to her. But she used to play everybody off. So my nan still has a chuckle, and she's like, she loved it. That's when she was happiest in her life, was in the 50s, because everyone went to nan, everyone told her the stories, and she kept the family together. But that's what she enjoyed doing. She was nan. She just loved the traffic. So towards later on in life, it wasn't as easy. So spirits will always show themselves sometimes when they were most happiest. And then I've seen a question before where, how do you relate with information that you're being shown? You've got to divulge of what's going on. So if you've seen a spirit at 35, they might have passed at 90. They might have passed like 36. So you've got to work out and ask them, just ask them. And I'll always state to a spirit, are you telling me the truth? Please tell me the truth. And my team will go, yes, no, like over my shoulder, yes, no. So if it's trying to portray itself as something it isn't, that's when you work out the different energies that's behind it. So it can bring like a smoke screen forwards, and then there's 3 or 4 layers behind it. So even in a past life, I can put people in trance, and instantly my guide will go, the soul has been 6 males and 4 females. 4 males, 6 males, 4 males. And it tells you the path of the soul. So if I get somebody that's channeling through or trancing through and working with me in development class, sometimes my guide will go, it was born in the 1500s, it was born in the 400s. So you know physically then of how many souls it's had, lives through its soul. So again, you can bring each one of them layers through. So you're talking and communicating with somebody from the 1950s, and then you can go back to the 1900s where it was born in the life of the 1900s as well. So you can actually read the soul of a spirit, which a lot of people don't understand. So you can have many layers going behind. So you could have one spirit energy that's coming to you all the time. And it could be 10 spirits showing you as, but it's the one soul that it's lived in the past. So sometimes it can be in a timeline or anything. You're like, why am I seeing that? Why am I seeing this? They'll test you. So you've got to ask the question in your mind. You don't have to say it. And then the way I work, I'll ask a question in my mind and I'll get me yes and no's. Basic questions.
Yeah, because everybody assumes when you, especially because of the general public only see it on TV, and they think, go on.
Sorry, Bob.
I know you are. I was just going to say about the ghost thing and different souls. One soul, different ghosts. I don't think many people's thought of that, actually. Sorry, Wendy, go on.
No, it was just that a lot of people that are watching these TV programs sometimes expect the psychic or the medium to be able to tell you lottery numbers. I don't know how many times I've been asked how to do lottery numbers, or is my relationship going to be a success? It's like you have to kind of explain that's not what you do.
No,
sorry.
It's
all I was saying was, is it because of the future? Because the future's not happened, is that why you can't? Not you can't, because everything's in fluctuation all the time. Is it possible that it's a good thought? Wendy mentioned that you said it before, and it did make me think, is that because you can't tell the lottery numbers because there's an infinite number of things that can change in an infinite number of moments? That means that something might change what you say, and that's just the way it is.
So as the three of yourselves there now, I'll put a random question out even to people that's online and watching, and thank you for watching. The machine they turned on in Switzerland, I think, was it the SARS machine?
The Hadron Collider.
The collider there, and they turned it off in 2012. And then within 3-4 months, they were finding black hole after black hole in space, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, don't forget, they're after portals, they're after black matter. These are tampering and messing with things that is beyond our belief, scientific-wise. And then they turned it back on about April or May or something, and then everything has gone to a kilt. Look how mad the period has been since like April to now. A lot of things in the universe have been a tilt, and it will settle and balance. So I'll just naturally ask my team, as a natural person, please put the balance right, please. Not make anything go negative or anything go positive. Please put the balance right. That's the human nature. There's certain things that you can't mess with. The best book I've ever read, I don't read books, was Celestine Prophecy. Please watch it. Please read it. There's a film. Read the book and then watch the film. It'll blow your minds away. The simplistic thing when you get to the end of the chapter, and it explains where we're coming from spiritually. And I'm not going to say any more than that. And it's mind-blowing. So when the penny drops and it clicks in, it's like Reiki is the only known thing to scientists. They haven't got the answer where it comes from. But in 2022, and scientists don't know how Reiki works. I know how it works. Wendy will know how it works. But we're not going to tell them. I don't mean it in that relation. We understand it, but to still... Scientists say we haven't got the answer. And I love the combination of science and mediumship and the techie and the equipment and everything, because it does all run side by side, because we're still learning. Seances in the 1900s. Can you imagine being in a room in the 1900s and seeing spirit?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. That's all I've got. I'd love to do that. Especially even now, be able to go to somewhere that is like that sort of like period, like nothing's been changed, and just be sat in that circle, and I'd have you two on my side with Bob there as well, and it'd be like, right, let's do this together.
I actually read for a very famous medium's daughter the other week, and the things I've had over the last 5 years is tied in with the stories I was telling her, because she had links with the Crays, and a family member worked in the Blind Beggar. So a lot of stuff I've been getting for the last 5 years, and the stories I've been getting walking around Shepton Mallet Prison, walking around Shrewsbury Prison, and going to different places. I'll have people watching, and I'm like, why are you watching me? Why are you around me? And then 5 years later, you're reading for a relative, and it all ties in with the story of a ring getting stolen. And you're like, wow. And when they turn around and say, I can relate to that because I was told that by my famous mother. And it's just like, wow, that's just mind-blowing. That's 5 years of getting information and tying in a reading 5 years later.
Wow.
Over time.
That's pretty cool. So do you think that like spirits can like
they can pre-see ahead where we're up to in time?
So that attraction, so like that positive attraction or negative attraction, whatever you want to put it in anyway, is that because you've been given this information, your mind is attracted to that certain area, which then you go to that area because of that region, and therefore because you've been attracted to those different areas, that's how the 5 years comes about, because it's left different imprints within your mind. Like for example, when we do our reading stuff, every time a spirit does something, like it does leave like a certain imprint. And
if you can imagine a spiritual time machine, they can already see 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead around the realm. So whatever way the realm is working, if they passed 1,000 years ago, they will know that they'll come across your path because it's like still on that chapter and it's still on that segment and the portal or whatever way that's going on. So we've all had it 3 days ago. I've had this spirit, and then you'll do 3-4 readings, and then you'll do 5 or 6 readings. You're like, I've still got this person with me. The 7th person will come along and the reading's just for them. And it's just like, that makes sense why I've had that spirit for 3 days. They full well know where you're going to be in 3 days' time, even where you know, but the person that sat in front of you might not know who's sitting in front of you, but they certainly do.
Have you had this sort of experience, Wendy?
Yeah, definitely. I had a gentleman, I made the mistake when I started out going onto platform. I got really edgy and really sick feeling before I stepped on, because it's not my comfort zone at all. I like to be in the crowd. But I had this song going over and over in my head, and I'd made the mistake, and this gentleman said, say to her and she will understand. And this song went over and over in my head. It was like, stop, please. And every morning it was there, and every night when I went to bed it was there, until I went to the church, and I said, please, if this song makes any sense to someone, you used to go out and dance and you would dance to this song, please put your hand up. And the lady, there was only one person that could. And I went, thank you so much.
Well, I'm just seeing Irene's question there about 24/7 seeing spirits and all this, that and the other. It's just basically she doesn't venture out anymore, but you can ask your team just to give you friends and family. You can ask your team to not let spirits in your house. The golden rule of mine is friends and family are welcome. Everybody else can wait outside. So it's all about control as well in the balance. So again, use the universe, use your spiritual team. You might not know who your guide is. Depends on what level different people are and where they're up to. But just ask in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud. When people sit before me, I'll always ask them, think your dreams, desires, thoughts and wishes, put in your mind. I trust the intelligence of spirit that people sit before me to pick up on the dreams, desires, thoughts and wishes. And people look at me and I'm going, no, I'm trying to give you the universe to give back in a reading of what you're after over the next 12 months. They'll try and tie and fall into place of what you're after. That's the way I work. So I try and segment it where I like to get back in readings. It's not about the spiritual communication. It's about people's dreams, desires, thoughts and wishes. Use the universe, write a bucket list down, put your intentions out there, bring things in closer towards you.
Yeah, I like Gary.
Yeah.
It's a shame we didn't meet really that much at Church Farm, because I was off being the trigger object.
You stuck by me, and but by looks of it, I have asked Rachel Darby, proud member of L.S.S, and I've asked her to see if she can organise something over in Essex that we all can get together and we can all do an investigation together. And I'm going to hopefully try to get as many people as what I can to go on this. So it should be a really, really good time. Obviously, I will be sending you the invite as soon as everything's gone through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds excellent. All right.
That would be fun.
We'll be all right.
Are we all right for time, Martin? Am I all right? But basically, yourselves out there and people watching. Again, I always like try and get people working as well. So, as people had any near-death experiences and their things heightened spiritually as well, deja vu. It's just chapters, things flashing through. I see cine film, I see black and white images, I get a lot of bullet points sent to me, and I'll always try and explain to people how I work. So I want them to take that bit of information. It might not tie in a reading that you sat before me, but 4 days later I'll get a phone call and they'll go, and I'm like, it's just it's nice. What it's for.
It's really nice when you get that, when you've done a reading for someone and then they're not quite sure and they go away and it all happens and they're like, wow. And they come back and go, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I've got Marshmallow asking about like portals and stuff, and that they would like to know more about.
Yes, it's an account where she protects herself behind from getting bombarded with other people that don't need to see social media. So obviously it's just a protection name that. Basically with the portals, how can you explain it? I always say it's a washing machine of energy. So where your washing machine's going round and round like that, a portal is just basically a washing machine of energy going round in a circle. If you walk into somewhere that feels positive, 9 times out of 10, there's usually a positive portal or there's positive energy around. So you've got to work out, is it positive energy, positive portal? And sometimes you can have a negative portal that will portray itself as a positive.
Yes.
So that's when you get your old pendulum out and you ask, is it a positive or a negative portal? And then if you've got a lot of activity going on in a house clearance or a building or an investigation, you can actually, not me on an investigation, but you can actually, if you're doing a house clearance, settle a house down by physically, spiritually, the way I work. And I'm not going to tell you how I do this, is you can virtually move the portal outside to shrink. So if you've got a tornado, it will burn itself out as it travels. So if you've got a portal and you move it outside that it's not feeding on the energy that's its battery source, it will shrink because it's got nothing to do. You can seal your property, you can seal the area, you can choke array everything up, seal, protect, put golden bubble up, white light. I know say to people as well when they're doing protection is visualize it 30 foot under the property and all around. So it's got no ways of like sneaking back in. So you're shutting everything off. I always say to people when I've done a house clearance, leave that side of the building's windows closed for the day just so it's sealed. And then sometimes I've done things with succubus and succubi where I've done a house clearance, I've gone 3 hours down the motorway and a person's rung me up and gone, it's back again. It's back again. I've cleared the balance of the house, that person's invited it back in. So when you've pushed something out and moved it and removed it, pushed it away, that person likes the energy, but I've already explained to that person how dangerous it is. when they get used to the energy inside them, that
Yeah.
can affect their mental health.
It's like
Because
how
energy.
Wendy was saying about this the other week, about like how she was like told to like go and help somebody, and when she was going to help this person about the Ouija board scenario, and
Yeah.
she was going. I'll let you tell the story, Wendy.
I got a phone call to go and help this person. She thought she had something in the house, and she collected Ouija boards, but she was letting everybody play on them. And I was like, well, sorry, but I can't come and clear your house if you're going to have Ouija boards.
No.
I can't.
Another experience, Wendy, was the most bizarre house clearance I've ever done. Walked up into this flat, and we go up like side door, side building, up to the apartment on the top. And I'm like, I'm seeing all the land. I'm seeing the battles from Roman, or battles from, what's the word I'm after? Druids and all that. I'm seeing loads of battles and fights on the land. And I'm going, this has been a really bloody area. You know, it's been really suffered in the past. And Saxons and everything else. I thought, I still can't put my hand on something that's niggling away. And about 3 or 4 hours later, you're just seeing what's going on. Walking down the stairs, there's about 10 mirrors on top of each other that she bought from an antique shop that she's going to put on the wall because she's just moved in. And you're like, you've brought all that energy of overlaying energies from somebody else's property. The mirrors might be portals that are open, and she's had them stacked on top of each other, but virtually hidden way behind the box. And I was like, what's that there? She went, oh, they're my mirrors. I'm putting them all up. I like different. And I was like, oh, where'd you get them, love? Oh, second-hand shop. I'm like, that's everything that's going on is all tied in with the residual energy around them and the mirrors themselves, the portals themselves.
You okay, Bob?
Yeah, no, just some. I'm not going into it right now, but a conversation I had with Martin a while ago where I blew his mind a little bit. Something, if you remember the conversation I had with you about time, time and space. Yeah, I'm not going into it right now because I haven't got a day. It's funny because just the things that like Wendy said to me over the last few weeks, and obviously a lot that Gary's saying now. It does fit really. It does fit to certain degrees. Well, and it's everything. There's something that Gary said I don't want to go into now, but hopefully we get to talk again. There's just something that I've always thought, and this is that thing, you know, when you talk to people, like the jigsaw puzzle, and you think to yourself, I can never fit it together, and then somebody comes along and just says that one thing, and you go, that's just slotted in. Oh my God! And I think to myself, yeah. I can't remember if it was you I was telling about. I've always been, since I was younger, I've been a massive fan of an electronic German Tangerine Dream. Edgar Froese died some years ago, and when he passed away, he wrote his own obituary because he didn't want everybody to say he died. He didn't die. He said he just moved cosmic address, and it stuck with me forever because it's so right. I do actually believe it's right, and I've always have since I was younger with all of this type of, you know, with all this stuff anyway. And it does make sense when doesn't matter how one psychic, one medium explains it, it's still very, very, you know, it's similar. You slowly get used to listening to things and thinking, and it's the bit that people don't want. You know, the people that are skeptics and don't want to believe, but that's because they don't want to fit the jigsaw puzzle together. And you think, oh, hang on a minute here. So it's quite genius, really. But yeah, no, you maybe I've sat here pondering. Sorry.
You see, you sat there like.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, and I've just, I don't know if you can't see, but I'm sat here and I'm scribbling away. And most of it is because Gary's seeing, I'm thinking, oh, well, when Wendy was, and I don't want to go into it because of something that was here that Wendy did for me. And then you think, well, yeah, no, it's you know, from somebody who was outside looking in and now sort of is in, even if it's the periphery, whatever. It's a very, I wish I could explain it better to other people, but you know, not everybody wants to, and not everybody wants to know and stuff. But because I was going to say to you quickly, Martin and Wendy, do you know what? The last 2 weeks, I would never betray anybody's confidence, but the number of people that said to me, we've seen what you're doing. Do you actually believe it? And I've just turned around and said to most people, what's it matter if I believe or what I don't believe? I said, you've got to understand what you believe. I said, because what are you going to do? Are you going to believe it? Because I say, oh yeah, of course it's real, of course it's true, and this, that, and the other. You've got to make your own mind up and stuff, not let TV do it or anybody else, if that makes any sense, all that.
Will used to have like ghosts at his boarding school, right? But I've never met a bigger skeptic than my husband. And over the years of marriage that we've had now, I think he just like goes, yeah.
I just think, like Garry said about science,
it now.
Science and stuff just needs to catch up, because we're all there and we've all got an understanding, but it's just some people are just never going to be willing to open their mind up to it all anyway, let's face it.
You've got to bring the scientific people with you on the invest. You've got to bring the non-believers.
Yeah, let them explain. Yeah,
I'll work all day long with a skeptic person.
Yeah,
because it's like you don't have to prove it. It's a case of come and enjoy, see, sense, experience, then tell us how you found the night.
Yeah, I did say that, Wendy. What when you came to mine Friday night, I did tell. So I did tell somebody. I don't mind, and they just looked at me and went, and I don't think they knew what to say. And I said, and they said, "Did you believe it? Was fine?" And I went,
"Does it feel better?"
Yeah, it does.
That's all that matters.
And those things that we had have not happened. This is twice now, and it's not happened. And I also, even though this room tends to be a bit cool anyway, it's different. It feels different. It does feel different.
No, your place was like Baltic.
yeah, and it did make me think and stuff. But that's what I said when I explained it to somebody. Somebody just said, "So what? Like it was dead matter of fact." And I thought, what do you want to do? Make a song and dance a bit like it was on TV or something? And I went, no. And that's the thing. I took it at face value, because I think everybody, skeptics and believers and people who can do whatever, we all understand. We all try to understand. We've all, we've got to get there somehow. Which is why I love the para-unity thing. Martin brought to me.
We never stop learning.
Yes.
Investigation. To have their own opinion, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. If everybody was the same and lived on the same, revolving, like, you know what I mean? Not when you go to like shopping and they've got the, you know what I mean? When they put shopping on it and it moves, my brain's gone blank. If everybody was the same, it'll be boring.
Yeah.
Life would be boring. If everybody looked the same, life would be boring. You know what I mean?
I've said before, I do.
Well, I've got longer hair than you all, so
that's a wig.
I don't feel sorry for people who. I don't feel anything. If somebody's not, the thing is, at the end of the day, if somebody's not interested, not interested. If somebody wants to, I've said this before especially on here. Most people just want to live their lives, and I do believe, like Garry said, COVID brought everybody to a standstill, and once the noise had gone, they were like, hang on a minute, there's a little bit. Because the world's just full of noise and stuff, and most people can't seem to see through it.
I've got Tina Marie as said, have you ever, when doing an investigation, had impossible spirits?
Well, that's a good question, Tina. What I relate to with that, you can go on an investigation and you're still working 6 months later, sorting things out. So it doesn't all happen there and then within the 6 hours that you're there. And it can play tricks. It can do things. I've gone in investigations where 3 of us have had tyres burnt out and punctures. And before we've got to the investigation, the next day, 2 cars have had that. We got up the next morning and the tyre was flat. And you're like, there's the 3 out of the whole 3 cars that went.
Wendy's brakes. That's all I'll say. Wendy, I said it. I said that. Wendy's brakes.
So again, you can.
I'm skeptical, but I'm sticking by it. Sorry, Garry, go on.
You can get an entity and an energy that will persist and be very, very strong, but can do things way off kilt and way out of line and cross the line, and then you've got to bring it back in and go, right, okay, it's like we need a one-to-one spirit and we need to sort this out, because when things get personal with spirit, that's when it's like, it's a no-no. So I've done an investigation and it's got personal with family members. It's like, shut down, not me shut down, shut them down, because it's like when you get a succubus or a succubi mentioning names of family members, it's like too personal, not the time, not the place, come back to me and we'll have a little chat later on. I've had them energies and entities step into good people around me and I've had to block it, stop it, push them away straight away. Again, there's just so many things in the realm that can come along when you're least expecting it. I've been on a motorway with an amazing believer, but non-believer, doesn't say anything about it, but believes, but doesn't say anything. Doesn't have his radio on in the car. It's come on full volume, doesn't have the radio on. Nearly crashed the car because it's startling, and it's like, whoa, and he's like, that's you again. I know, it's not me, but it's people after communication. So again, there's time and a place where it can really take you by surprise.
Yeah, I must admit, I've had, I was coming back from doing a demonstration, and Will and I were in a brand new car, and you know how they all have sensors in them now for seat belts.
Yeah.
We were driving through this wooded area coming home, and it was really dark, and the seatbelt light went on in the back, and it was going ding, 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 like someone needs to put their seatbelt on. And my husband's going, I'm not looking in the mirror. So I'm like, right, come on, guys. I've just done an hour and a half for you. You can just wait till tomorrow now, please.
I was on. Sometimes I'll switch off and I'll sit and I'll watch somebody else's live on an investigation. And I was with Kenny Shaw. He was watching one of his investigations. And I said he was outside the car and he'd had the full manifestation in this spot a few weeks past, and he was trying to reenact it, see if it happened twice or three times. I said, he's in the car seat. Kenny, you're outside. I said, he's sat in the car seat. And he went, I can't take that. I said, ask him to rev the engine. Vroom, vroom. He had nowhere to run because he wasn't in the car. He was outside the middle of nowhere. And the expression on his face was just priceless. He was like, the car's revving itself. And I'm like, it was so funny the other week. It was just.
We had similar after the sensors on the car as we was leaving that place, didn't we, Martin? And they were going off. And I didn't realise. Then when Martin said something, he said, I'll record it. And they stopped. And I thought, you crafty little, and I won't swear. But they carried on. And we videoed it. I even demonstrated how the parking sensors work, how they don't, shouldn't, and should not work. Showed something in that video. Sorry?
I said, I think I've sent you it, guys.
Say again. Yeah.
I said, I've sent you the video of it.
Yeah. I showed somebody that video and they went, oh, it was probably just your sensors going wrong. And I thought, okay, they're skeptical, but then there's
stupid.
Then there's yeah.
But you're always going to get someone that's refuses to believe in anything. And
I was quite lucky there with them because I actually did get the chance to sort of prove, disprove, at least show something, which I know you guys, you don't always get, because I've been saying this to you before about it's okay when you can get something on camera, record something or this, that and the other and stuff. But when you guys are sort of saying, you know very well somebody out there is looking at you thinking, don't talk, what a load of baloney. And it's I don't believe this load of baloney, because the thing made me think it's gone off screen now on mine. But I think it was Karen said about, at the end of the day, respecting people. And it is right, even respecting the people who just don't want to know. But as long as they respect everybody else.
Do you know what as well is good, Bob, is you've got to understand where that person's up to in their life as well.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing friend. He's not medium, but he's on high medication. So he works spiritually when he's highly medicated. he's not off his head. He's just basically in a
Yeah.
different zone.
Yeah.
So his chemicals and his brain and his balance is totally different when he's on certain medication, and it is prescribed medication. And do you know what? He's never wrong.
Wow.
He's never wrong. And that is just, I don't mean it in that relation. I can tie into what he's saying.
Yeah.
And again, with people doing house clearances, the first thing you'll ask them, you'll find the background out. Are they having a bad time? Have they had, are they struggling with any depression? Is a weighted energy around? Are they struggling to shift, or are they having a run of bad luck? Because 9 times out of 10, you can help balance the energy that's around them. So if they're around a lot of negative people, they're going to attract negativity. So you try and put the balance in and help balance and cleanse spiritually. And it's like washing people's aura. So I'll always ask people to do their bit and visualize anything they've not been happy with in the past. Put it down plug hole when you show bathe next. Visualizing it coming out your aura. You're self-cleaning and self-balancing. I don't preach what I do, but some people don't understand that they've got to do their bit. I can help balance and cleanse their aura, but it's not for me to do everything out there.
Want it.
They've got to do their bit, and it does come around and about, because I've seen the results. I've seen people's lives change and go, oh my God, I've took 5 bags of coals off my shoulder with the weight, because they've balanced and cleansed themselves. 10-minute meditation on YouTube. There's thousands out there, but just do a 10-minute balancing and cleansing meditation. Then do a meditation you're drawn to. It's not for me to do. I can't remember last time I meditated.
You doing the meditation, didn't you? And she started doing the meditation, what's doing on YouTube. And she swears by it. She says to anybody, if anybody has a stress moment, if anybody has if they're down, she always says, bang it on YouTube, get your meditation going, And this is where, she told you, Andy, where she met a spirit guide, and it's because, and it was pretty cool. But about doing the meditation. Meditation is something that everybody should really do. You need that 5 minutes just for yourself.
Yeah, I like to do meditation before I start working on platform, just to clear all the day's junk away.
I've been around amazing international mediums, and they work on the higher vibration, and some of their tunes and the music they listen to on the higher vibration is just, you're like where they bang the tongue.
I go put headphones on and do similar with music,
But you can see that tapering off.
Chanting sort of things. That's the sort of meditation that I like to go to, or the pipes and that. I find that very calm and relaxing. Sometimes I'll listen to it as I'm falling asleep, because I find it just so relaxing in the brain. Everybody needs that 5 minutes. Everybody needs that. Just that.
I heard a good quote the other day off one of the programs I was watching. I don't really watch a lot of paranormal shows and all that, and somebody was explaining about the periphery of the vision, and when you see or sense something over there, by the time you've thought and turned and distracted, that's gone in a way, because you're naturally responding in the wrong way instead of working and communicating and keeping it there. So again, everyone works in different ways, but I thought, because what do we all do? 9 times out of 10 on an investigation, I've just seen something to my left, and then everyone just goes. So the atmospheres change. If an energy really wanted to step right in front and do it that way or behind, some people see from behind with the mind's eye, and then some people receive from above, below, the base. Some people receive verbal from, it's like a horn where it receives all over your body in different places. So we don't just attune into one area. There's about 10 points on the body, like the mind's eye, that you can receive spiritually on the communication side of it.
That's pretty cool.
I know because Martin knows I do music, but sometimes early when I first get up, because my missus gets up before me, I just go in, my synthesizer plugged in and everything, earphones on, and it might take me 5 minutes and suddenly I'll hit a sound and I'll be playing chords and stuff, and the world's gone, absolutely gone. Everything around me is gone, and I wish sometimes I hit the record button, because I would bloody doubt, and I think, shit, that was amazing. Oh, excuse me, that's amazing. And it's that bit you miss. I get that totally and stuff. Yeah, you know, just something that takes you away. But you know, everybody's
Definitely.
different.
What about you, Wendy? What do you do? Is there any specific thing that you do that like helps?
I
you
like to do the meditation. It depends what I'm doing at the time. I like to do sitting in the power just before I go on to do a demo.
Could you explain what that is?
It's basically a meditation where you're sitting, you're grounding yourself, but you're also opening yourself up to the universal energy, spiritual energy, yeah, and you're channeling that as well. It's very empowering. Very empowering.
Have you two got any more to ask Garry just before we start ending the live?
I don't. At some point, about a million things, but not now.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd like to get a little bit more on the trance side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's things I'd like to do. I'd love to do the psychic drawing, but again, I've been told that there's a time and a place.
Oh.
and it's just like, I love the automatic writing. I love different things, and I had a situation a couple of years back, and maybe a year or so back, where somebody was passing virtually the next day, and I was at home, and their soul virtually come to visit me prior to them passing the next day. And it was like, I want to be with you, Garry. I want to stay with you. I want to be around you. And I was just like, I had to shut up shop and go, no, it's not the time. It's not the place. That spirit energy has come back not so long ago, a month or two ago, on an investigation, and helped me and put a lot of protection in around the team, as well as our protection. And I just gone like, thank you very much for that. That was much gratefully received, because there's a time and a place. So not me blocking them off and pushing them away. It was around, we'll catch up, we'll do things again. And then a year later, 2 years later, they're coming in and protecting you on an investigation and looking after something that's not showing itself as what it is. So it's just absolutely mind-blowing of how someone's soul and spirit can depart from a body and make tracks and look to go where it wants to go further on down the line. And then that's part of your night in a year's time. And you're like, thank you very much. That was just, I appreciate it so much, just what they've done.
So yeah, I'm so interested. I could ask you loads more questions.
Yeah, I'm the same.
How about we get you booked in again, Garry, very soon, and we can talk more about like, you know, the transmediumship and get that sort of like point of view across, and like Bob's got things to ask as well.
There's the diary already, 2023.
Yeah, I've got my 23 out.
I've got mine somewhere, and I got a new one today. So yeah, so we'll get it sorted. I am bringing it to an end now. I do appreciate for you coming on the show.
Thank
It's
you.
really nice to meet you, Garry.
Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you.
So it's nice to share the experience, and you know, I'm still on my path. You know, it's 13 years I've been doing it. I've been doing it since I was 5, but I hope I'm doing this in 30, 40 years time. It's just amazing. And I'll see our lovely Karen tomorrow. I think we've got a show down in Reading Way. So sold out show there. I think it's with the West London Paranormal team. So again, I'll be down that neck of the woods tomorrow, and I just love meeting like-minded people, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Definitely. Well, like I said, I do appreciate you coming on. Thank you for being part of the family. You've been a loyal, being respectable part of the family for many, 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 many years. You've helped me to grow on my path and to grow as well. So again, I do thank you for that. I respect.
I'm always a massive believer in what goes round comes round, and it comes back in tenfold. So it's not about me just open to receive it. It's nice to put it out there, and then collectively you bring the more positives back towards yourself, and learning on your path, you bring the more positives towards everybody else.
Well, that's it. It's, you know, it's like I believe you give out what you want to receive, and you know, it's the best way. It's like sometimes I think, yeah, I don't have time for that because I don't have time for negativity. But then I go towards the positivity, and you know, that's where you should be. If you want to be in a positive part in your life and have that positive mind frame within your life, you need to surround yourself with that positivity. And therefore, you know, if you don't have that, you know, and if you've got positive environment, you can be more glad, you can be proud of yourself, you're going to grow more, you know, and there's so much there's so much you can do. So, you know, like you said, like, you know, it's what you give out is what you get back. And it's always nice to be appreciated for it as well, Gary. And this is why I'm saying thank you to you.
Oh no, I'm grateful to be receiving, and again, you know, if I wasn't working spiritually, I'd still be helping people as well, regardless. Because again, I'm a big believer in life's too short. Just put your best foot forward there, and especially if you're working in the white light, share it. You know what I mean? Because when it touches and people see things that you're trying to explain, it's just wow. It's a wow moment, and again, it's just I'm just privileged, just a pleasure and a privilege to be and receive of communication with spirit and help others.
Thank you very much.
It's been really nice to speak to you.
Thank you. No, Garry, it was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, brother.